Hi, I'm Chuck Dorsett for Weaver Leather Supply, segment 3 in our series on using the inexpensive stamps. We're going to talk about some combinations, unlimited possibilities here. That's what makes it one of my favorite. Now, I had to break this into two. I started shooting this video and it got longer and longer and longer. So let's break this in half. In this segment, we're going to look at our border stamps, get some good ideas there, but also recurring designs. Something that's going to look good on a strap or a belt or a cuff. All right. So anything I use in this video, weaverleathersupply.com, or check below. We've got links there. Going to take you straight to the website. Also, if you want to know when our videos release, just click your notifications. You'll know exactly when these come out. So let's step over to our punch table, get started. There are some great tools out there that look good simply by themselves, but I love the combinations. There's so many ways we can go. And I bet for those of us who have picked up just a couple of stamps and a little scrap and have given it a try, we all agree. Unlimited possibilities here, and that's what makes it so much fun. Let's start right here. We're going to go with our Weaver Select 8 to 9 ounce. This is our natural strap. I love this leather. It's my favorite for tooling. But the best part, this comes in panels, so we don't have to buy a big full side to get a quality piece of leather. Now with these tools, I'm having a little bit of a hard time lining these up. Well, we can simply get past that by some practice, but it's a good point. Notice with a quality tool, the edge of the impression is the edge of the stamp. Makes these very easy to line up, and we can graduate up to these, absolutely, but a little practice and these are fine. So let's start right here because this is a perfect example of combinations. So right here, I can't take credit for this one. This actually was created by somebody doesn't even work leather. They were simply playing with some tools. So right here, we've got a pine cone, pretty standard pine cone. We've seen that. Well, this is a flourish. And first off, I love this tool. We'll see it again, but it's a nice, large, clean impression. But let's drop this right on top of our pine cone. And we have a perfect pineapple. Absolutely. I love that design. I have yet to use it, and I don't know where I'm going to use it, but it just looks so good. But again, a perfect example of combinations. Now this next one, if we hit our marks on this, this looks good, but it's a little bit difficult. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw our lines in. We're going to draw parallel lines about 1/4 of an inch apart, about 6.5 millimeters. We're going to go 1 3/8 of an inch, about 3.5 centimeters. We'll give that a 3/8 of an inch spread, about 9.5 millimeters. So you'll see where I'm going with this. But let's draw this in on our leather lightly. Now we're gonna overstamp our anchor lines here, but still let's go a little bit light. And our 2 lines. Let's jump over to this is actually part of a 2-stamp set. It's a floral border stamp. But let's stamp this and we'll see what we're talking about. But I'm going to drop this right in our empty space. Yeah, there we go. But good impression from an inexpensive tool. Let's do the same thing down here. And on the other end. Like I said, if we hit our marks on this one, this is going to look pretty good. Let's go to our floral stamp set, and we'll stamp over here and just get a look at them. We've got that. And then our other side. Yeah, it's a cool stamp. We've seen this in the past video. So what I'm going to do now, let's take this corner, and I'm going to drop it in right on the corner of our X with our floral design out. And I'm going to lay the stamp. I'm going to try to lay this curve right on that line. Okay, let's try the other side. Do the same thing coming this way. Okay, we've got half. Let's do the same thing on the other side. Well, that looks good. I like the pattern emerging in the center of the design, and I love the design. All right, let's see if we can get another set in here. Well, there we go. Actually, that looks good. I love that design, and we could always add to it. We could finish this out in some very creative way. Very cool. All right, let's set up for our next design. This is one of my all-time favorite combination stamps. We saw this in the first series on our stamps, but these are the expensive tools. Well, can we make something just like this with the inexpensive tools? We absolutely can. Now we're going to change it up a little bit. Right here, we've got a basket weave right in the center. Well, we've got several basket weaves in the inexpensive tools, but let's change it up a little bit. Now, as our designs get more and more complicated, we can always create patterns, and we can simply make marks that we need to hit with our tools. If we do that, everything's going to line up beautifully. But right here, we're just getting an idea. So let's start right here. I'm going to draw in 5 marks at 1-inch increments. Okay, let's pick up. This basically is a figure carving stamp, but to me it looks a lot like a camouflage tool. So let's take our point, drop it right on that first mark, and do our best to aim right at the second mark. Nice impression. Again, cased leather makes all the difference. So let's do this actually just 3 more times. So we've got that in. Let's go over to our large veiner, and I'm just going to span this between my 2 marks. Well, that looks good thus far. We've got a chain link look going. Best part here, this ends itself in a nice even point. Let's jump over to a camo tool. So what I'm going to do is we've got an imaginary center line. I'm going to butt that right up to the center line. Let's flip this around, do the same thing again. Well, that looks good. We've got all kinds of things going in here, but what I like about it, so we've got a lot of matching lines in this. Let's take a cedar. Let's just fill this out a little bit. Well, that looks good, and we could just keep going with this. Let's drop in 2 more cedars on either end. Well, I like that design, very creative, and it looks good, but again, so easy to line up and very simple to do. So let's jump over to our heart, one of my favorite tools. We've got that. I love that crisp impression. So let's butt these, but let's separate by about maybe 1/4 inch, maybe a hair more. Okay, looks good. Let's take a cedar, and I'm going to drop in 2 dots right between. All right, how about a geometric tool on either end? And let's finish off with a veiner. Oh, I like that design. That would look so good on a cuff. And last up, we've seen this tool, but I like the line it gives us. So we've got this little diamond going on in the middle. Let's do a couple. Now we've got a line. We can go all kinds of directions with this. Again, we've got this small diamond in the middle. But how about let's take a heart, drop a heart in. In fact, let's flip that around, point that right to us. Well, that looks good. We could do that on either side, or we could simply bring in a camo tool. And we could just keep going with that stamp, more stamps, combinations. We're going to see this again. This creates a pretty cool design. So let's reset here, jump over to our next designs. With the border stamps, most tools will make a cool border stamp just by themselves. But when we start adding combinations, these get cool. We're going to start with one of my favorites. So I'm going to come in about 1/4 of an inch from my edge, thinking I'm either going to have a stitch line or a groove line. So 1/8 inch in for my stitch line. Let's drop in an anchor line at about 1/4 of an inch. We're going to go with our heart. Again, love this tool. And our 2 floral, our left and our right floral. So let's drop one of these in. Good. Okay, now we've got an example. So down here on our anchor line, let's bring our heart and drop that right on that line. Again, a very crisp, clean stamp. One of the reasons I love the heart. So with these, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this point and I'm going to nestle that in right next to the bottom of the heart. And I'm going to lay that right on our anchor line. Okay, let's do the same on the other side. I think that's just such a cool design. That would look good just on a border, not so much a full border line. Okay, let's use that heart again and step over. Let's butt this back to back. Okay, now we've got half of our floral border stamp. Let's drop this on either end. Well, that just fits so well together. Let's do one more set. Well, that's pretty cool. It's going to be easy to go around a tight corner with that, but I like everything that's going on in here, minus the debris. But again, we've got some good impressions with the inexpensive stamps. Now with this, a Boehner, always a great border stamp because we can intermix so many other stamps with this. So right there, we've got our Boehner. Now let's jump back over to this large flourish. Now, proportion is going to play a part in this because this is a big stamp. But it looks good. Again, this needs to go on a larger project. But let's follow up with another Boehner. Actually, I like the look of that. Very Western, but also at the same time, a little bit Victorian. Okay, one more. And this one, we're just going to experiment with this because we've seen all 3 tools here. Right here, our geometric. Okay, so we've got that. And notice too, my case leather, so easy to get a good impression. So let's take our smaller Boehner and I'm going to bow this inside. Same on the other side. Let's follow up with the same stamp on this end. That is a cool border stamp. But to me, I can see this design a little bit more than the stamp itself. But a cool thing with our case leather, this design is actually bowing out a little bit. Gives it a nice touch. Let's drop in one more. So again, a very creative border stamp. But if we add an additional camo to this, and this tool is perfect, it's got almost a hexagonal base on it, fits right in there. Yeah, that looks good. Let's fill in the rest. Well, there we go. So it makes a great design both as a border stamp and say for a cuff or a belt. And it's easy to finish this off too. Well, actually, that's a very cool design, very symmetrical, easy to line up, looks good, and again, a great border stamp or a belt or cuff stamp. Okay, so we're going to call it right here because we've got so much more to see. In our next segment, we're going to look at some standalone and some very cool panel designs. If it were up to me, this video would at least be an hour long. There are so many creative ways we can go, but that's what I love about the stamps, and I hope you feel the same way. So up next, segment 4, let's talk about some standalone designs. Unlimited creativity there, but also one of my favorites. Let's look at some designs to cover a panel. Looking forward to that one. Well, I hope this is good information for you. Good luck with your projects.